might be a bit of a weird one, but the only Nate Diaz boxing fight I want to see is against Mayweather, and I kind of think it could happen. Like, I think the press conference would be super funny. Mayweather and Nate Diaz would be hilarious, but I don't know. I just think it's a funny fight. Like, Nate's never gonna have a boring fight. He's gonna be swinging. Like, he's not. You know what I mean? That's just what Nate does.
Yeah.
So, and he doesn't mind getting hit by Mayweather. Why would he care about getting hit by Mayweather when he just got hit? Well, he's willing to get hit by anybody like Conor or Leon, or he's getting hit by these guys. He's not worried about getting hit by Mayweather.
I think that fight's gonna happen actually in Japan. I was saying I think that'll happen. Floyd's always hungry for money. You know, Nate Diaz wants a bag. You know, he left the UFC to do other things, make money. So I think that fight will happen.
This is crazy. I mean, I'm thinking about it now. Like, I know that Nate Diaz is in such a good opportunity to make shitloads of money, but he also has, and this is just a little sad, but it's like when you're in Nate Diaz's position, like you have so much brain damage, and like your way to get money is by taking brain damage. Like it's such a push and pull. Like it's cool, you get to make shitloads of money, but also you have to do it at the expense of your own brain. Like, isn't that kind of such a weird dynamic? Like, I guess maybe Nate really isn't suffering. I don't know. Maybe he isn't. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the whole thing about the fight game. They're super interesting. So, like during COVID, well, I've been training in martial arts for a long time, and I got professionally licensed in March of the COVID year, like 2021 or 20, whatever it was. It feels like ages ago now. And I was ready to like fight and stuff. And I remember like a lot. I remember I had a chat with a guy. I even spoke to Arnold Allen for a bit too. And like the advice is, unless you have like literally like nothing else in you but fighting, it's just not worth the permanent damage you can have. It's just not worth it. Like I'm in law school now, and they're all just like, "You're a smart kid." Like why? Like why? You know what I mean? It's like, I love the sport, and I'll always love the sport. But it like kind of grounded me for a second. It's like there is such a physical cost that comes with this game, and the money's great, but like,
for sure. I mean, imagine being a champion. But the thing is, like, how many people fail to even make it into the rankings in the UFC? Like. And they get paid $10,000 a show and all this, $10,000 to win. And like, before you know it, they're no longer a name, and they've got all this damage. They've gotten KO'd, and now they have to do something else. Like, unless you're incredibly gifted and talented and you're just like demolishing people on the amateur scenes or whatever, like it's not worth it. You know, if for example, if you're like a fighter and you're having like wars on the amateur scene, like, I don't know if that's good. And even if you do make it to the top, unless you get out perfectly, like I don't think Khabib is taking that much damage, but still, like sparring and all that, it's just an unforgiving sport. So unless you're all the way at the top, it's just not worth it. I think it's
interesting looking at the guy. Like you guys had a podcast with Sam Alvey. Like you look at a guy like that, super nice guy, incredible fighter, like an amazing guy, but like he's not just living off his UFC money. Like he's still teaching other things. And it's like, I think that's an amazing thing, but like, it's kind of sad at the same time too, because you sacrifice your body.
Dude is getting KO'd like a lot, you know what I mean? And that's just like, I would just never want that. And sure, you may be okay when you're in your 40s or 50s, but what happens when you're 60? Like you just completely lose it most of the time. And it's just not worth it, man. Like for me, I used to do a lot of Muay Thai and I would do sparring. And I remember like driving home, just feeling like a little off, like, my head just feels different. Like I feel a little lightheaded. This is not good. Like, and eventually I'm happy that I stopped, like, because I know that I didn't have an amazing talent. Like I was not this guy that was just incredibly gifted with my striking and grappling. I don't know, maybe that I've never really gave it an honest try, but, I just knew like, fuck this. Like, I don't need to do this. It's just, it's not the only thing I have. As you said, unless fighting is it for you, unless like you really have nothing else to lose, it's just not worth it. Like
I had a Conor McGregor like last year. I broke the bottom of my shin on the right side, throwing a low kick. And it was like, when I was like going through rehab, getting better again, I just like, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to do this. I'm scared to throw a kick, and if I'm scared to throw a kick, I can't compete properly. And what am I even doing it for? And basically, since then, I've stopped training. But I mean, I have so much respect and appreciation for like. It doesn't make it like we'll make fun of Israel Adesanya for being a bit boring.
Oh, of course, that's for sure.
But
I respect
it. But it's like the game's a game. He's just trying to keep as healthy as possible, make his money and win. And
Like,
it's
listen,
like,
if I was Izzy, I would be more boring than he is now. Like,
yeah, exactly.
if I was Israel Adesanya, like, if you show up and you get an extra million to just win, like an extra million, hell yeah. Like, if I was him, I'd be just as boring, if not way more boring. So I respect it. As a fan, like, I can clown it for sure. I don't like to see it as a fan. But if I was actually like honest with Izzy, and I was like, you know, I would 100% do the same thing if I was him.
Oh, for
Yeah,
sure.
for me, I used to box, and it just like as I got more serious into it, like I never did a fight or anything. I was just like, why am I doing this? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just feel like it's only for certain people fighting. You have to be a
That's why
certain
grappling
kind of
is cool
person
though,
to do
because
it,
grappling, you could become like really, really good at grappling and base your game off of that.
Yeah.
You know, that's also a good thing about grappling. But still, like, here's the thing about grappling. If you're someone like me who hasn't grown up doing it, it's just eventually you're gonna face guys that have grown up doing it and you'll just lose. So
Yeah, you have to be a certain kind of person to be like really like fully put your like to be a fighter, you know? Like
It's
and I
different.
think a lot of it also has to do with that maybe the only option for a lot. That's the only option for a
like
lot.
Charles Oliveira probably,
Yeah.
you know, didn't have much before, like without martial arts. I mean, I remember hearing that he couldn't compete. Like he had some kind of an issue when he was a much younger kid. He couldn't compete. Yeah, exactly. He had some serious. He was almost paralyzed. Like, and he started doing jujitsu, and that's kind of what saved him. You know. So yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I feel like a lot of the times with fighting, like, and it's unfortunate to say, but I feel like you shouldn't do it unless it's the only option. You know what I mean? Like, it's the amount of brain damage you take. It's not worth it unless.
So that's why I'm wondering, like, is Nate Diaz?
You know?
I wonder how he's doing on a day-to-day basis. Like, if he's doing well,
you can't be doing well.
No, from the weed.
There's no way.
I mean, maybe he's smoking so much weed that he's just fine. But like, again, even weed like is nowadays being shown to have some really bad long-term effects. You know, like increased risk of Alzheimer's and all this stuff. Like, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, I agree. Like, I think if you need to fight, that's like the only way out. You do it, you know, like, but like if there's other options for you, like you shouldn't fight unless you really fall in love with it, like where you're willing to take those risks, you know what I mean? Because you just have to kind of expect to have that brain damage after fighting. You know what I mean? It's guaranteed at this, you know what I mean? Like you're getting hit in the head, there's gonna be some damage no matter what.
I mean, like Tony Ferguson over the last 2 years, he must have at least like 10 years taken off his life.
Yeah.
And like it's crazy. Like I just don't think any amount of money is worth
for sure. Yeah, I mean, especially like you've been knocked out, like Tony. I mean, and also throughout his career, taking so much damage. It's not worth it, man. It's for the money that he's making. Like, I don't know, man. I mean, Conor McGregor, maybe it's worth it for Conor because like he's making like hundreds of millions, but like still though.
No, but for certain people, it is worth it because that's the only way that they will get the money, though.
That's true.
You know what I mean? So like,
for sure, it's worth it for certain people. Yeah.
Fighting's just a tough game, you know, where like you it has to make sense for you financially, or else there's just no point in it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if there's other ways to go, then you shouldn't be a fighter. You know what I mean? Like I don't think anybody like recommends people to be fighters. You know what I mean? So like, I think the thing about back to Jake Paul, like I feel like that's kind of like you kind of have to respect that about him. You know, like he's putting his life, like his life is he's set. You know, like he's making that money, he's got stable income. But like he's choosing to put his life at risk for the love of boxing. That's respectful, you know. No matter if he's fighting washed up MMA guys,
any sort of ring
gotta respect it no matter what. What? Sorry, I didn't hear you.
I was just saying you're never gonna step in a ring or an octagon unless you really love what you're doing. It can't like there's no you're risking your life. Like you're either desperate or you love it. That's it.
Yeah. So that's what I respect about Jake Paul. But I think in terms of fighting, in terms of me, in terms of like if you have another option, like you shouldn't be fighting, you know, like most of the time.